Have you ever snapped at someone you love without meaning to? I'm sure we've all done it at some point. You may have been tired, stressed, overwhelmed, or just having a bad day in general. We've all done it at some point, but do you remember the feelings of guilt, shame, self-blame, and remorse which plagued you afterwards? This is exactly how young people feel when they're labelled as naughty or badly behaved, when in fact, they're just trying to communicate something to us. They're struggling, and they need our support. Imagine that you are walking down the street and you see a child yelling, screaming, hitting out at their parents. What would you think? Would you think that they're having a tantrum for attention or to get what they want? Or maybe their parents need to discipline them more? What if I told you that this child is autistic and they are not doing this on purpose at all? They're having an uncontrollable meltdown due to sensory overload. Their body and brain automatically plunges them into this fight or flight response. They're overwhelmed. Punishment and discipline is the last thing this child needs. They need to feel safe and supported. The parents don't need judgment either, because it's not their fault. And you're probably wondering, well, then how will the child know that it's not appropriate to act in this way? They likely already know. This isn't a choice, and they don't want to do this. It's very distressing to them. So instead of punishing them for this distress, we should look deeper and find the root. If they are having this reaction to sensory overload, then we could provide them with ear defenders or sunglasses or a safe space to block out noise or light that is distressing them. Assumption leaves no room for curiosity, but curiosity is how we get answers. It isn't fair to assume that a child is just being naughty without looking deeper, because there likely is a lot more going on. We need to find the why. Why are they struggling this way? Why are they acting in this way? If we automatically label them as naughty, then so many problems go unsolved and undetected. The young person blames themselves and doesn't know why they're struggling. This can lead to low self-esteem, which may lead to self-sabotage as they believe that they deserve to be punished for struggling. And no child should be made to feel this way. There are also other possibilities for what could be going on. For example, the child may have an inflammatory brain condition, such as PANDAS or PANS. These are conditions that can cause OCD, tics, rage attacks, irritability, oppositional defiance, and more. The symptoms are different for everyone. Those are just some of the common ones. These conditions result from an autoimmune attack on the brain, and they are thought to affect 1 in 200 people. Sadly, these children and young people may be judged as naughty or badly behaved because they act in a way that isn't expected. But by doing that, you're missing the underlying medical issue, and that can be dangerous. And that is one example of why the assumptions are harmful. These children aren't doing it on purpose. They are likely overwhelmed, terrified, and confused as to why they are losing themselves. They need support and treatment. They need someone to look deeper to support them. Now, I'll give you another example. Imagine you're a teacher and you have a student in your class who doesn't follow instructions, wanders about the class, fidgets, and yells out answers. You might think that they're just being defiant or don't want to do the work. But what if I told you that they aren't not following instructions deliberately? Maybe they have ADHD and they don't have the short-term memory to be able to remember the instructions. And the restlessness and the fidgeting isn't defiance, but is actually them trying to give themselves the stimulation that they need. They need the stimulation to help them focus. They're trying to help themselves, not be defiant. I'll give you one more example. Imagine there's a student in your class who makes animal noises, yells random phrases, throws things, and rips up their work. You're probably thinking, well, that needs to be disciplined. But what if I told you that this student may have Tourette Syndrome? Tourette Syndrome and chronic tic disorders are thought to affect 1 in 50 people. And I was one of those students. I was formally diagnosed with severe Tourette Syndrome at the age of 15, but my first tic was at the age of 4. And I did a lot of these things. I would rip up my work as a tic. It was completely involuntary, misfired signals in the brain, make animal noises, yell phrases. I would throw things, and I must say that throwing a pen at your maths teacher's crotch is very awkward. It's not great, but my tics would do that quite a lot. You know, it's quite difficult. But thankfully, my teachers knew that I couldn't control it, so they were supportive and they didn't have a problem with it. But unfortunately, not everyone is that lucky. Some people are judged. Some teachers ostracize the students by sending them out of class for something they have no control over. No child should be isolated like that. You have to question, what if they're not doing it on purpose? I wasn't always supported or understood though. When I was 9 years old, I had my first psychiatrist appointment. They diagnosed me with obsessive compulsive disorder, but unfortunately also determined that I was struggling with calculated and deliberate bad behaviour. I disagreed with this, because to me, it was all spontaneous and involuntary. I was experiencing rage attacks, which were uncontrollable episodes of fury where I would lose control of my rational thinking and actions. And I was always plagued with remorse afterwards. By labelling me as bad or naughty, that just lowered my self-esteem. And again, it didn't get to the root. I ended up making friends with the wrong groups of people because I was made to feel like I was bad, and it really affected my quality of life. And instead of labelling me that way, making those assumptions, instead of threatening to put me in a care home, they should have had more compassion. They should have come up to me and said, "We will help you. We know you're distressed, and we will find out what's causing this. We care about you." Unfortunately, they really seemed to take the approach of compliance training, which didn't really help. You know, there's positive and negative reinforcement, but they never actually taught me any emotional regulation skills that would have helped. And they didn't really look into the underlying triggers, but to me, I feel that that would have been more helpful, because the sort of compliance training sort of assumed that I was doing it on purpose, or that I could eventually figure out myself how to function better, but that didn't happen. I just needed the extra support because my brain wasn't working in the way that it should, or the way that I wanted it to. We needed to find the triggers, because if you don't find the triggers, you're not really going to understand why this keeps happening. This is really harmful, and no one should be made to feel this way. So this is why I'm here today, to try to challenge your assumptions. There are also many other examples, and you're probably thinking, well, it's probably more likely that a child is being naughty or badly behaved. But then again, there are many other possibilities. There's a plethora of possibilities, and it isn't just neurological conditions and neurological differences. You know, a child may be acting in a way that's deemed disruptive due to stress at home. They may have trauma responses. They may be going through financial difficulties. They may have been bullied, and you know, that makes them act in a certain way because they're distressed and frustrated. And we are doing a great disservice to these children by assuming that they're naughty and not looking for the why. Why are they struggling in this way? So to any young person or child out there who is struggling with this sort of thing, who's been labeled disruptive, naughty, bad, I'm here to tell you that you're loved and you deserve support. You deserve accommodations, and you deserve someone to look deeper. And if anyone doubts your ability to go far, you'll prove them wrong.